Hello everyone, welcome. We are doing the Maamar Havaya Ba'Izrei Tafshin Yud Zayin. This Maamar is based on the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maamar, which he said as soon as he came out of Galus in the first Yud based Tammuz in Taf Reish Pei Zayin. And this Maamar was said 30 years after that Shloshim Shana Tafshin Yud Zayin. And this was the same Dibra Maschil that the Frierdiker Rebbe said and Yud based Tammuz. It says, Havaya Ba'Izrei Vani Ere B'Soinoi. Which means Hashem is going to be a help, and I am going to see with my enemies. What does this mean? So it said the first Yud based Tammuz, and he says like this, Mashmos, Haloshin, Havayli Ba'Izrei, Hu Shieshnam Oizer Macherim. When it says that Havaya is going to be with my helpers. My helpers means that it sounds like there's other helpers. Asking the Kadosh Baruch Hu should also be amongst those helpers. What exactly does it mean that there's others? Kol Yisrael Ma'aminim, everyone believes. It's only the Eibishter himself that helps everyone. That it sounds like there's others as well that are helping, and Hashem is there helping out. Shouldn't we have true emunah that the Eibishter is the one that does everything? And what does it mean that Hashem Havaya li ba'Izrei, which sounds like he's amongst the helpers? That's question number one, as is brought down in the Maamar there. And also that I'm going to see my enemies, which is explained. I'm going to see a nekama of my enemies. Now this is going to what David HaMelech says in Tehillim and to Kapitel Kuf Yud Ches. And David HaMelech is saying that I'm going to see a nekama with my enemies. We should be asking not that his enemies should receive retribution, but that his enemies should become his side. They should become those who he's loving. So what's pshat? That sounds like he's saying that he's going to that his enemies are now becoming his beloved. Even though when we talk about this sign of David, it's only those who are Sainei Havaya, those who hate Hashem Kaviyachol. In other words, those who do Averis. That's mentioned in Tanya about those that he could refer to as Soinim, as enemies. But still, shouldn't we say shouldn't we say that not that the enemies should be gotten rid of, but only the chatoim, their averes? And as pointed out over here as well, the as Rabbi points out over here, especially with all the Rabbeim, and especially the Baal Agula, referring to the Frierdiker Rebbe Yud Beis Tammuz, that they always had the union that even if there were those that rose up against them for whatever reason it was, nevertheless they always tried to bring them back to good. And even though perhaps there could have been some union, some sort of retribution, and Befrat, many of them were Yidden who brought the Frierdiker Rebbe to Bechlal to come to Galus. Nevertheless, he never did anything as retribution against them. He only tried to make it better. So we should say the same thing about David. They should do tshuva. What is this idea of saying that he wants to see his enemies that they should have retribution. I'm going to see my enemies. So this is the two questions. Number one, what's pshat of Havaya ba'Izrei, which sounds like he's amongst the other Izrim, the other helpers. And number two, what does it mean? I'm going to see my enemies to get back at the enemies. Now we're going to put this question on pause, and we're going to now focus on another pasuk that's said by Tehillim by David HaMelech in Kapitel Kuf Yud Tes Nun Daled, where he says, "Zmiras hayuli chukecha ves megurai." where David HaMelech says that they were songs to me, the chukim, your chukim, which is your mitzvahs. Your chukim were like songs with Veis Megurai in the place of my living. Now it says Megurai, we have different ways of explaining it. One way of explaining it is Megurai is Lashon Gerus, which means that that David HaMelech was constantly traveling around, and Beves Megurai, in the place where he was always like a ger, he was always foreign. Over there, I always had my songs with me. I always had my songs to turn to. As Metzudas David explains over there, that whenever he was running away, he always turned to his songs. That his songs was David's safe haven. And but what was the song? The song was the chukim, the mitzvahs. And another explanation is magur upachad. Another one is that it comes from lashon of being afraid, which means that the chukim, that the mitzvahs were like songs for me at a time when I was afraid, from those of my enemies, as it brings down over here as well. Rashi says, brings down from the Gemara and Saita, where Rashi brings down over there the fact that David was singing. He said mishtashea, use the lashon there. He was like playing around always. He brings down a Metzudas Tzion. I have yet to find this Metzudas Tzion that is referring to on the pasuk. I don't see a Metzudas Tzion on the pasuk, so if anybody can reference me which Metzudas Tzion is referring to, let me know. Appreciate it. Anyway, so even when he was afraid, that even at that, he always had the and Torah would be sweet to him. It would be his songs. That would be his song, his joy of life, be Torah and mitzvahs. So now the question is over here. There's many different types of tanugim. Why was he comparing the tainug of Torah to the tainug of zmiras of songs? And also we have to understand our mitzvahs, there are three sugim, mishpatim, edus, v'chukim. This is going to be the primary discussion of the Maamar over here about the three different aspects, the three different sugim of mitzvahs. So you have mishpatim, Eidos and Chukim. What's mishpatim? Mishpatim are mitzvahs shemchayam gam mitzad seichel. Mitzvahs that you have to do mitzad seichel, like meigazel, geneva, oina, kibud avayim, like stealing, being honest in business, kibud avayim, honoring your parents, and Eidos. Then you have Eidos. What's Eidos? Hema mitzvah shem ois fizikarn. Eidos means witness, so it means that it's a sign to remember something. It's a witness to something. Kamei Shabbos. Shabbos is a witness that Hashem created the world. Pesach is a remembrance, it's a sign, it's a witness to the fact that we went on a Mitzrayim. Sukkah is the fact that Hashem kept us in Sukkahs throughout the desert. Tefillin is also the fact that we left Mitzrayim. So you have that's the idea of Eidos. In other words, they're not necessarily things that we don't understand on our own, but they reference something that happened in history that's able to make sense. It's something that could also make sense. Even though it wouldn't come out if we didn't, as it says that when it comes to mishpatim, we could learn tznius from a cat. A cat's always hiding, and but when it comes to and gezel from an amala, but these things, but once we have it, we understand it. We understand the idea that we're remembering something. But once to say so, but then you have chukim. Chukim are mitzvahs. There's no time. There's no reason. It's only chukah fakakti gzer gazarti. I have inscribed it and I have made a gzera. I've made this rule. This is how it is. And so now we say Zmiris Hayli Chukecha, that the tztafke, the chukim are the mitzvahs that don't have any explanation. But we don't understand the reason that we're saying that David is saying, this is my zmiras, this is my song, this is my way that I like to express myself with chukim specifically. L'chayra is learning Torah, also things of edus and mishpatim. So why is he specifically referring to this as chukim? Gimel v'inyan hu. The thing is as follows: Miras hugam inyan shevach. When we talk about songs, so there's songs which until now we're saying it's a way of enjoyment, but we're saying this miras also is the idea of shevach, of praising. What does it mean? David was calling the Torah Zmiras. It was the praise of the Torah. What does it mean? He was saying the songs. It means he was praising the Torah. What was the song that he was saying? The song he was saying was expressing how even one diktuk of Torah could hold up the chayes of the entire world. That's the greatness of Torah. So David wasn't just singing Torah, but he was singing the praises of Torah. And so that's what I mean. Zmiras hayalichu kacha. That when we talk about the idea of shevach, of praising the Torah, that all the olamas, all the worlds are bottled, even for one diktuk in Torah. And so how did that help him out when he was running away, when he was hiding, etc.? So how did that help him out? Because he was thinking to himself that even when it was difficult for him, it was challenging for him. He always was Isaac in Torah with such joy, because he said, look how great Torah is. The fact that the entire world is not Taifas Makam, even for one diktuk in Torah. And so even in difficult times when he was running away, when there was all kinds of challenges, he nevertheless, this was his song. His song was the song of Torah. But in the Maamar over there, he explains another explanation of Zmiras. It says Zmiras u'mashin chituch krisa. Zmiras means to cut. You have to cut. You have to cut down the plant. So it comes from the idea of cutting down, lazamer, the pruning. The idea is like David, Amelach nispato kolsoine v'reitvav. That what does it mean to cut down? That through the Esek of David, through that his enemies were nispato. We find the idea of Torah that it says that if you that when you have people that are making tsaras, troublemakers, so then you make sure to go daven early, make sure to go to the base medrash early, and they'll automatically disappear. As brought down over there in the Gemara Gittin. And so we have over here two explanations in Zmiris. One is the idea that Shevach, that he was praising the Torah, and the other one is that the Torah was helping him to cut down his enemies. And the truth is, these are both connected. That through that he recognized that Torah is so great that even one diktuk of Torah it could hold up the chayes of the entire world. So for sure, when it comes to a minagid, someone that could be against Torah, that he for sure won't have chayes. And so that's the idea of Zmiris. In other words, go together. That number one, it's the praise of Torah, that it could hold up the entire world. And number two, it makes sure that Torah helps that there's no menagdin, that there's no one coming out against it. And so this is the idea of the Zmiris haylichu kacha. Why we say chukim, specifically that type of mitzvahs? Kishnei yanim hanal shebezmiris the Torah shivcha dairaisa. Because the two inyanim of Zmiris of Torah, the song of Torah. Number one, the idea of the praise of Torah. Number two, the idea of cutting down and any enemies that stand up against it. This all is affected specifically by the chukim in Torah. By the chukim, meaning the mitzvahs that don't have an explanation, that we don't understand the reasoning for them. This is specifically the mitzvahs, number one, which affect the entire world, and number two could get rid of the sign. So to understand why specifically this is by chukim, why is it specifically by chukim where you find these two concepts of Torah? The sheikhalakas klal mitzvahs mitzvah eidus u'mishpatim sheshalem tam mitzvah chukim shalom almatam eshnei yom klam v'edus Hashem. That actually there's two different ways to serve Hashem. You have a way of serving Hashem, which is a way of chukim, and then you have a way of serving Hashem, which is an eidus u'mishpatim. What are these two ways? Havaya tamadas mishpatim havaya kabbalas al chukim. Now, at this point, we are going to make the distinction between mishpatim and chukim only. However, a little bit later in the Maamar, we're going to bring eidos into the discussion as well. But for now, we're going to see the difference between mishpatim and chukim. What's mishpatim? Mishpatim means avodah tam v'datz. We said mishpatim refers to mitzvahs that we understand the reasoning behind them. Gezel, Cubad, etc. So that is the idea of avodah al pi tam v'das, and then you have the avodah of kabbalah. So that's chukim mitzvah you don't necessarily understand. Both of these ideas, the idea of tam v'das and the avodah and the idea of kabbalah, have to be by both mitzvahs. By every mitzvah. And what's the idea? The mitzvahs yashnei inyanim. Mitzvahs you have two inyanim. Echad, one inyan mitzvah, shem mitzvahs and tiny is barit. One idea of mitzvahs is that mitzvahs you're fulfilling the ratzon and the eibishter. Ratzon shalom mitam. Ratzon means a will, means that there is no reason for the ratzon. This idea of the ratzon of mitzvahs, so that you find by all mitzvahs the same. All mitzvahs have the idea of fulfilling the ratzon and the eibishter, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's what seems to be a simple mitzvah, that not to kill, not to steal, to the greatest, most deepest, complex mitzvah. That's all the same because you're fulfilling the ratzon of the eibishter. Obeys, then you have the second in Yindalachish, ratzon eslabsha b'chachma, that once mitzvah is eslabsha in chachma the Torah, noisef tam l'chol mitzvah. Then we add additionally a reason to every mitzvah. And that means that each mitzvah has its own special gili, its own inyan. This is why we find that the Ramach Bekudin, the 248 commandments, represent the 248 Evarim of the king, meaning that they're referring to the Evarim. You have 248 limbs, and each mitzvah represents a different limb. The whole aver who koyach l'kli prati. Every aver, every limb, is connected to a specific type, to a specific aver, to a specific part of the body. That's why there's certain mitzvahs that are associated with the hands, some mitzvahs associated with the feet, some mitzvahs associated with the eyes, some associated with the mouth, etc. V'tamim elu hemitzad chachma d'Torah. The idea that every specific mitzvah has its own inyan, its own gilui, its own expression of how that comes out. That is the idea of the chachma of Torah. In other words, the idea of understanding the Torah. And then you could have reasons for mitzvah the Torah, the way it's revealed in Torah. Time the edus, mishpatim, the reason for edus, the reason for mishpatim. So that's why when you fulfill the mitzvahs, you have to have two kavanas and mitzvahs. You have to have kavana klalos and kavana pratish. The idea of the ratzon, which is higher than reason, ratzon just means a will, a desire to do it, not necessarily is there an explanation or reason for that. It's kabbalah sel, ratzon Hashem. You're doing what the eibishter wants. There's no real explanation to why you're doing it. But then you have the time mitzvahs, the reason for the mitzvahs. So that's the kavanah pratis, that's a mitzvah. That's a specific kavanah to each and specific to each mitzvah. And this is why this is the idea of eidos and of chukim and mishpatim. And this is why we have this both concepts of chukim and mishpatim really in every single mitzvah. Shagram mitzvahs the eidos and mishpatim. Sheyesh aleim tam, even the mitzvahs of eidos and mishpatim, which there is a reason explanation. Still you have to do it baker mainly because it's Ratzon Hashem, because this is the Eibishter's will. Just like a chayk. Even though we could explain it, and there's reason to explain why should we do it and why it makes sense and why it's the right thing to do, still nevertheless, the main reason why we're doing it is because this is what the Eibishter tells us to do. And the same thing when it comes to mitzvahs of chukim, which are things that we not necessarily understand, the mitzvahs that we don't understand the reason for it. Para aduma, shatan is maybe kosher or whatever. So you will find some sort of explanation. Yesha tama kaman prati shabam. There's some explanation. Actually, they call mitzvah gam mitzvah the chukim nishachar v'gili prati. You find this specific in of why we do that mitzvah. V'seirim is more so. Not only is it that there's a specific or and gilei for that, but the Rebbe is adding even more that by chukim u'mishpatim there's a general idea for avodas adam. It's also telling you how the person is to act. What in other words, what's mishpatim? What does the word mishpatim mean? The word mishpatim means lishbeit kol davar, to judge everything. What does it mean to judge? If it's something that I'm able to understand and explain, and the chachma of Torah, even if you can't really understand what is the reason for it, and then I could find an explanation, a million explanations of why it's not usher. I have to still think about it, whether this is going to cause some weakness in a mitzvah or minig Yisrael. I have to then put, if it's going to affect something, even if I'm making that judgment, and I'm coming to the fact that I can't really find any reason or any halacha that will tell me that it's something that I'm not allowed to. But as a saying goes, brought down that there could be a time that I find that it's going to bring a chalishus and a mitzvah minig Yisrael, and so I'll know that it's something that I shouldn't be doing. And so that's the idea of mishpatim, that sometimes we have to make that judgment, even if it doesn't work out a piseichel, of why it should be right or wrong, but still I know that this is the way it has to be followed. Fin chukim hu, what's the idea of chukim? Havaya kabbalas el machashmayim as galas hashich loirak beis kiyam mitzvahs el meshal kol yom. And there's not only during the kiyam mitzvahs but the entire day. So what are we adding over here? Over here we're adding that it's not only the mitzvahs which have the concept of chukim and have the concept of mishpatim, but also the avodas ha'adam, we also have the concept of chukim and mishpatim. Where do we find avodas ha'adam? And avodas ha'adam, we have the idea of mishpatim, which means to judge everything, to find, to know what, to look and to judge the inyan if it's the right thing or not. Then you have the idea of, in avodas ha'adam, the idea of chukim. What's the idea of avodas ha'chukim? To have kabbalas el malchus shmam. You always have to have that kabbalas el, even if you're doing things al pi seichel. But you also have to always have the kabbalas el, and know that you have to have the right foundation. You have to have the right basis for what you're doing, and that's something that's affected the entire day. So we have the inyanim of chukim mishpatim, sign the mitzvahs, and about how each mitzvah has the idea of chukim, which is l'mayla mitam, and the idea of mishpatim of finding the reason of how in the chayis of each mitzvah. And then we also have the idea in the way a person should act, the person acting al pi mishpatim, meaning judging each inyan, and then the idea of chukim, which is the idea of the Kabbalah itself. Vav. And this is Pshad, Zel's Midas, Haili Chukecha. Now we're starting to understand, going back to the question, why did David specifically refer to his mitzvahs as chukecha, as chukim? When we talk about chukecha, he's not so saying about the type of mitzvahs that are chukim. He's saying the idea of chukim within the mitzvahs. When we're doing a mitzvah, it doesn't matter what mitzvah. It could be a mitzvah of mishpatim, it could be a mitzvah of eidos, but we're doing it in a way of chukim. Chukim means chukah chakakti gzerah, then azay dafke, and then dafke zemiras hayuli. Then the mitzvahs, then it's going to be by me like a song. What does it mean? Why if I'm doing the mitzvahs in a way of chukim, then they're going to be zemiras. We said the zemiras is the idea of the shevach. is the praise of the Torah. So it's Baker Mitzvah. So the idea of the praise of Torah is the fact that even one diktuk of Torah could hold up the entire world, and that the entire world is bottle, even the guy with one diktuk of Torah, that comes, it's how the shirish of Torah. What's the shirish of Torah? That's in Ketzer. With Ketzer is higher than Chachma. Chachma means I'm understanding it. Ketzer means it's higher, which is connected to Ratzon. Ketzer which is the idea of Ketzer, which is the Ratzon, which is higher than reasoning. When it comes to Chachma, to understanding, so being that there's a reasoning in there. For example, we find that by tefillin, what's the idea of tefillin? Tefillin means you have to draw down the meichin al yonim, the higher meichin, the higher levels of meichin. You have to bring it down here. So it has to be that there's some connection to the world. For example, so when it comes to tefillin, the idea is that we say, what's the explanation of tefillin? That you're bringing down the meichin into the world. So it means that there has to be some connection to the world. That it's chukim and veis megurish. When a person knows and a person knows and feels that all the diktukim of the Torah is for this, that this is what the Eibusher wants, and there's no reason behind it, but this is the Ratzon Elyon, as a Negesh Estlai, then he feels it. Then he's going to feel how all the worlds are batul legabe, this one diktuk of Torah in one small aspect of Torah, and it comes out that the divrei Torah are going to be for him something that is miras, which now we're going back to the original explanation as miras as tainug, enjoyment, even a place of beis megorah. Going back to original pasuk, even in place where it's difficult, where it's challenging, could call a difference. Even if he has enemies chasing after him, it doesn't matter. We say the same thing is going to be also in the world. That even that all the enemies and all that are chasing are going to be completely battles. So now we're putting this all together. So again, to explain this, that when it comes to Torah, the way it is in the Torah, the way it comes out into Chachma, so then it is drawn down into this world. But if he knows that it's in a way of chukim, but if he knows it's in other words something that affects the world, and the way the world is affected and connected to the Torah, but if it's in a way of chukim, then everything that happens is like nothing. Megabe the Torah, the Torah is able to bring a person true peace, true joy, true tainug, because he knows that that everything that happens in the world through Torah is able to make that everything will become better. And this puts together the different explanations of Zmiras. You had the explanation of Zmiras that it means Tainug. And we also had the explanation of Zmiras that it means Zamer Ritzim, which is to cut down. So through the Tainug, through the enjoyment which he's able to have through focusing on Torah, through that the Sainim will automatically become cut down. Because through the chukim, which is the Torah from Ketzer, which is higher than Chachma, drawing that down into the world, that is going to make that all the outside forces are going to become bat. To understand this, we have to take a look at the idea of edus. Now, if you remember, we said there's three types of mitzvahs: chukim, edus, and mishpatim. Until now, we only gave an explanation of the difference between mishpatim and chukim, but it seems that there's another aspect here, and that's the idea of edus, which is interesting. To me, I see that this is perhaps something that's not discussed in many other Maamarim, the idea of Eidos. You find the idea of Chukim Mishpatim discussed in many Maamarim, but the aspect of Eidos you don't find so much discussed in detail the way it is in this Maamar. We have to first understand the idea of Eidos. So we said, what's Eidos? The idea of Eidos is that it is a testimony for something that happened. Eidos means a witness. This witness is bearing witness, a testimony to something that had happened, and by us doing it is connecting to that to that thing that had happened. From Tehillim Ayin Ches, which this is the capital of the Frierdiker Rebbe, which happens to be Yud Beis Tammuz, is also his birthday, and the Rebbe would generally connect the Maamar to the capital on his birthday. When he would say Yud Beis Tammuz Maamar, generally he would connect it to the year, which that year was capital Ayin Ches, would have been the Frierdiker Rebbe's capital for that year. And so he's quoting something from that. So why are mitzvahs called Eidos? So now we're taking on a new pshat. Why is mitzvah called Eidos? So until now we were saying that what's the explanation of Eidos? Eidos means something that happened historically, that it's bearing witness. Shabbos is bearing witness to the creation of the world. Pesach is bearing witness to leaving Mitzrayim, etc. Now, but based on the Maamar of Yaakov, wherever there explains it, what's the idea of Eidos? It means that it's megale the helam atzmi of atzvos ayin seif, something that is completely hidden in atzvos ayin seif, and it's revealing that into the world. So it's taking something that's completely hidden and revealing it. That's the idea of Eidos. What's the idea of witness? Witness means that I am revealing something that was hidden until now. That's the idea of a witness. That is revealing something that was hidden. If it's something that everyone knows, then you don't need a witness for it. Even something that eventually you're going to find that you don't need Eidos. So what's Eidos? Eidos means something that I'm bearing witness to, something that nobody knows. I am the one that's revealing it. That's pshat of Eidos. So we're saying that these mitzvahs are things that it's revealing the depths of atzvos ayin seif, which is not revealed until now. So Arhamamale is something like we can understand. We just look at our body itself, and we're able to see we're able to see the great. We're able to see what the Eibishter is from seeing ourselves, looking at our body. You can see the neshama, the guf, etc. You see what our makeup is. You see the world. Just like you see that there's a soul that gives life to the guf. It has to be a nefesh that's giving chayas to the guf. The same thing in the world. You know that there's a chayas in the world. We understand it. We know that there has to be some chayas in the world. And that's the idea of mamali kolom. Then you have the level of soiviv shalom slapshas b'elamis something that's going to be revealed. Something that even though we are even though you may not see it clearly always, but the idea of Seif Kalam, we recognize that from the very fact that we know that there's a chayis in the world, so we know there has to be something that's even greater and higher than that as well, which is the idea of Seif, the chayis, the Eibishter's chayis, that is everything equal, that affects the entire world without the specific chayis, just like the neshama. We know that there's an aspect of the neshama which is beyond the guf, but still connected to it, and that is the idea of Seif Kalam. And so you have the idea that the inyanim that are revealed, and also the avidah the glui that are, so to speak, going to be revealed. Hasaga bara malas amslavish v'amish roar lovad. Kumarkum is that gufa shuhu bislapshut. The idea sheyesh na'ar shu muflo me'elmas. The fact that that you know that there's a chayis in the world, so you know that there's something that's beyond the world. So that's the source of it. The very fact that you understand something means that there's something beyond it that I don't understand. So that's a concept that we that's revealed, so to speak, something that we could connect to, relate to. Yeah. But then you have the idea of witness. Witness means who ba'atzmas and say that's even higher than sev. It's completely hidden. That's the idea of edus. So it's not something that's revealed, which is malakom, not something that's going to be revealed or an aspect that's just beyond the revelation. But I know that revelation is there, which is seviv kolam, and then the idea of edus means no, I'm revealing something that we don't even know that it's there. That's atzmas. That's why that's where we have the concept of edus by all the mitzvahs. So we explained that all the mitzvahs have the idea of chukim, which is the idea of the ma'alim miseichel, ma'alim mitam. We explained that all the mitzvahs have the idea of mishpatim, which is understanding a certain aspect of all the mitzvahs, a specific chayis within every mitzvah. But what's the idea of edus within every mitzvah? This is the idea of edus. Every single mitzvah reveals, is edus, is witness, is testimony to the idea of the existence of Atmosar and Seif, of the Eibishter himself, which is beyond Seif. Let's understand. Based on this, what's the difference between edus and chukim? If the idea of edus is revealing something that's completely hidden, isn't that the idea of chukim? If you're saying the edus is the edus is revealing that's the idea of mitzvahs, of chukim, the idea of that's beyond time. So what's the difference between edus and chukim? The idea of ed means I'm revealing something beyond what I know. That's the idea of chukim, seemingly saying that it's beyond reasoning. Isn't that the same thing? Also, we understand the mitzvahs. Also, what's the idea of referring to edus as that they are a mitzvah, which is a sign and remembrance? What's the idea of a sign and remembrance? So if you're saying that it's something that it's much higher than reasoning, that does mean that it's a sign and remembrance of something. That the idea of edus in the mitzvahs that a person does, the idea of re'usa deliba, it's coming from the depths of the heart. What does it mean, the depths of the heart? It means that you're calling out from the depths of your heart, from Etzem Anashama, the desire to connect to the Eibusher. That's how you connect to Atzmos. So calling out from the depths of your heart. It's like we say that the shofar that we blow on Rosh Hashanah, it's coming from the depths of the heart, and that then it's able to reach the highest level. So the same thing over here, we're saying that the Rusa the Liba is for the calling out from the depths of the heart, which that reaches Atzmos. That's something that you can't reach with your mind. The etzem of the Eibishter can't be reached. It can't be understood at all. Even by knowing it's something that I don't know, that's also not that's also a way of understanding. Meaning that I know what I don't know. That's also knowing. We're saying it's something that I don't even know what I don't know. But that could be grasped with the depths of the heart, with the etzem neshama, the neshama itself, the pintala yid, the depths of the yid. That you can reach something that you don't even know exists. You don't even know that it doesn't exist. The chukim, he avoid the kabbalah cell. So if so, what's chukim? If it's something that I can't understand, so which is Rosh Liba, isn't that chukim? So say no, chukim is kabbalah cell. What's the difference? What's the difference from Usad Lim and Kabbalah Cell? The difference between chukim, something which is beyond understanding, which is connected to Kabbalah Cell, and the idea of Rosa Deliba. The Rosa Deliba, Mekimin Shesh Leiratzan, Hagam Sheratzan Imitzad, it's Gashris, that's a Manashama, Batzvasar, and Seif, Haril B'chias Metzias Adayin. So say like this: Rosa Deliba means my desire of my heart. The desire for the depths of my heart to connect to something that I may not understand, but it's still a desire. It's still saying that there is some ratzon that is me, my desire to connect to something beyond me. Even if his ratzon is completely badash and it's not saying that I want it for myself. His entire desire is to be a kili alakus in the world. That is, in other words, his desire is for the kavan al yayna. To be a dir v'tachtonim, there's a tachtonim. Kamakim in etzem in haratzon u'metzias. The very fact of desiring something, the very fact that a will to have something, even if that will is a will to do what the Eibishter wants, even if the will is I want to accomplish the right thing, I want to do the right thing, I want to do what Hashem wants me to do. Nevertheless, that is still associated with the metzias. It's still a fact of I want, even if it's not really I want because I want. But it's still I want. Kabbalah is shu kamay evet shein l'shur mitzaynis klal. An evet stands and says, "What do you want? I don't have anything. I don't have any desire. I don't have a re'usa deliba. I don't have a desire in my heart. Even though that desire in the heart is beyond anything and can understand it, and I don't really know what it is, but it's something which is within me saying that I want it. Kabbalah means there's nothing within me that's saying that I want it. This is whatever it is, that's what it is. I don't even have my own desire. Whatever the Adon says, that's what he does. He has to do what the Adon is telling him to do. So this we find similar to the mitzvah himself. Even Uratzon atzmi she'enoi b'shvil eza kavana shetushlam idea mitzvahs. That the ratzon of mitzvahs is a ratzon atzmi, a etzem dika desire, which is not even to fulfill what the kavanah of the mitzvah is. I'm just doing the mitzvah because I got to do the mitzvah. I don't know the reason. I don't know if there's a point. I don't even know if there's a purpose with this mitzvah. I'm being told to do. That's what I'm doing. The idea of the mitzvah is revealing atzos in the world. Even though this mitzvah is because of a desire, because it's the Eibishter's desire, which is higher than explanation. Since this is something that's being done through mitzvahs, since we're the idea of revealing the Eibishter in this world, even though being that there's something that's being done through the mitzvahs, revealing the Eibishter in the world through the mitzvahs, that is similar to the idea of a reason. The true idea of the ratzon atzmi, which we're calling the most simple desire, mitzvah is gufa, mitzvah itself. In other words, not that the mitzvahs are accomplishing something, but the mitzvah is a mitzvah. The mitzvah I'm doing for a mitzvah. Not because I'm accomplishing an inyan in this world, which is being affected by the mitzvah, even if it's that thing which I don't understand and I can't explain it. Nevertheless, the very fact of bringing atzmas Ein Sof into this world, that is associated with a reason. The reason of a desire to be in this world. That's why eidos is the idea of rusa deliba, the desire of the heart, and the avodah chukim is avodah kabbalah sel. Mitzvahs is the idea of eidos and mitzvahs. How does it actually come out? It is the ratzon, it's the desire. Even the desire of that seman neshama, it's a feeling which is associated with my identity. That's something that I want. Which is a ratzon which is mamash higher than gilui, higher than any revelation, or bittul to Kabbalah Sel. That is the bittul of Kabbalah Sel. Bittul Shematzad Atem Shalom, calling his pasha saying bittul etzem, which is higher than anything than any his pasha. So you have the idea of etzem anashama, the ratzon of the etzem anashama, the desire of the etzem anashama, which is associated with some sort of some sort of a drawing down outside of myself, outside of the inyan itself. That you could say that I'm a yid and I want to do it because I know that this is the right thing to do. I know that this is what the Eibishter wants me to do, and I know that this is going to accomplish great things. And I know that doing this mitzvah is something very, very special. And so that's why I want to. And so that's why I want to do this mitzvah. That's the idea of edus. The idea that I am that I have an etzem neshama, my yid within me, the depths of the yid, my neshama within me is telling me I need to do this mitzvah because I know it's good for me. I know it's good for the world. I don't have any way of explaining it, but I know I know it's a good inyan. I know that this is what the Eibishter wants me to do. This is what the Eibishter wants me to do. The idea of Kabbalah's oil is that I'm just doing it because I'm doing it. It's almost like going over to that yid that you that you ask him, do you want to put on tefillin? He says no, and you say, okay, do it anyway. And he says, but I don't know, I don't have any desire to do it. I have no interest in doing it. And you say, okay, so do it for me for a favor. The Bachar is saying, okay, do it for me for a favor, because I want you to do it. Okay, so that Bachar saying, because I want you to do it, is like the Eidos. He's saying, okay, I'm not going to give you the explanation. I don't really know why, but I just know that the Rebbe wants me to tell you that you should go and put on tefillin. So I'm doing it because I have to fulfill what I know the Rebbe wants me to do. That guy doing on tefillin, that's like the chukim. I'm not interested. I don't know what it is. I have no desire at all to do this, but nevertheless, I'm doing it because it's something that's got to be done. So I'm doing it, but not that I have any desire or any reason that I want it to be done at all. That's the idea of chukim. I'm doing it for the inyan and for no other reason, not because I want to do the inyan, not because I want to be pale the inyan, but because the inyan has to get done. So the inyan's getting done. Not because I want the inyan to get done. Right there, Yud. That's the idea of Zemira. The Zmiras are to me chukecha. That the songs are for me chukim. What? This when David HaMelech is saying that the mitzvahs by me are chukim. Not only is he saying that by mitzvahs by me are like are not like mishpatim. In other words, they're not of a reasoning. But I'm doing all the mitzvahs in a way of chukim. He's saying even more so. I'm not even doing the mitzvahs in a way of eidos in a way which is expressing the etzem of elikus in this world. Because when it comes to edus, there's still some sort of metzias. Not only mitzad the person, even his desire, which is higher than Talmudas, versus Libo Metzias Kanal. But even the mitzvah of edus, since the idea of edus is that you're drawing down something into this world. But what David was trying to bring out is that the entire world is like nothing. We said before that what was the song of David? What was the shavach? What was his excitement? What was he trying to express with his mirror? So it's the idea of bringing out of how the entire world is like nothing for one diktuk of Torah. That's specifically by chukim. I'm sorry. Why by chukim? Diktukim the Torah tzamchina zu hemin atzmim mitzad shosha matzah shebat Torah. The very identity of Torah, the very being of Torah, shalma shachas alamis, is entirely higher than the world. In other words, there's no way that we could define the world at all based on this scene in Torah. There's no explanation in Torah for this. There's no explanation in the world that will define the greatness of this mitzvah and Torah. The Torah is so much greater than even one diktuk of Torah. That was the song of David. The song of David is that it's a chukim. The idea of I can't even explain why, or that there's an Indian that's being piled through this, or that there's something great in the world through the Torah mitzvahs. No, Torah is so much greater even than all the great and young that can be piled in the world. So why was David punished? So you have there in the Gemara Saita we mentioned earlier that the Gemara Saita says that David was punished for referring to the for referring to the Torah in a way of his mirrors and a way of a song. So why was it? Because even though Taki learned Torah in this way, but it was in a way of the Zamar Ritzim, which means to the Zamar. Not one Indian we said was the idea of the song. Singing the greatness of Torah, how it's so much greater than the world, and it's completely, the entire world's like batal completely, and through that, how it could be mivatal, it could cut off all the enemies, and everything could be gone, and the world is garnished compared to the Torah. Problem is with that, because the ultimate kavana, the whole reason for the creation of the world is to have a civilized world, that the world should be part of the equation, part of the discussion when we talk about Torah mitzvahs. We have to deal with Havaya Sabirudim. To bring down the Giliyar Lakus in this world. David was saying that the entire world is nothing. That was the praise of Torah. The entire world is nothing. Who cares? The one diktuk of Torah is so much greater than the world. That's the idea of the chukim of Torah. But David got punished for this because why? Because ultimately it's about bringing elikus in this world. And that's the idea of tefillah, which you don't find in Torah. Tefillah would be rivala. The idea of tefillah is being mevar in Indian, being malid. Ham shadei tefillah misparim mitzutzis zdakim v'elamala. Tefillah mevar the mitzutzis and bring down the mal. Mashing in Torah ham shacham lamala. Torah is drawing down something that's higher. Torah pushes away things. In other words, Torah is coming down the way it is, the truth, the way the Indian is, and anything that doesn't fit has to get pushed out of the way. So therefore, David tried to be invited the Birim of Torah, which is a way of pushing the Zamar Ritzim, to cut down anything else that didn't belong there. Nana shows that he got punished. Ultimately, the ultimate purpose of the world is to be l'shavet yitzara, that the world has to be a place where you're making a derib tachtainim, where you're bringing a gilui lakus into this world. Tzarich lavin. So now comes the question: David by fin miras hayili chukacha hivchinas atarek mashiv mitzadarat asmi kanal barucha. Didn't we say that David was learning Torah in a way of Ratzon Atzmi? In other words, that this is that the idea of Chukim we said is Ratzon Atzmi is the true Ratzon, is the true desire that the Eibishter wants, the etzem desire of the Eibishter. So how could you say that that's not the kavanah? How can you say that that's not really the way it was meant to be, the way it should be? And because that David got punished. Shleim Rabbi Rabbi Alpi Mashkos Maamar Mitchilas being Havaya Echad. He explains there in the Maamar about Havaya Echad. What does he say in the Pirish Echad who Yachid? Hashem Elokinu Hashem Echad. What's Echad mean Yachid? Mashem Echad la Yachid who lahiris the Havaya v'Elikim kol Echad. What's the difference between Echad and Yachid? Yachid means one, means singular, means there's only one, and there is no two sides to it. There's only one way, one direction, one. That's one, but that's not the ultimate oneness. That's not the true unity. Echad, when we talk about oneness, it's Aleph, the Ches Rakiyim, Dal Ches Olam, meaning that you're recognizing the oneness in the Eibishter in the world itself. That's the idea of Echad. That's why I say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That even the Hashem and Elokeinu, which is the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim, they become one. That's the idea of Echad. That's the ultimate meaning of Achdus. Achdus higam etzad ha'olam, meaning that the world itself, meaning that you're able to recognize that the world itself is also Elikos. That would say that it's only Hashem. He's the one. He's the one. That's it. Say that it's also mitzad the world. I feel mitzad Elik Mashenivim Shem Elikim, even mitzad Elikim Shem Ma'alim Master Havaya, which seems to cover up an Elikus. Cheinamar Havaya Echad. That's the idea of Echad. Gam HaChes V'Adal Shem Zayim Kim Zaris Dal Ruchas Ha'elam Him Til Lafi Chudash Ha'elam. The Ches, which is the eight worlds, and the four corners of the world, are bottled to the Aleph, and that's Aleph Ches Dalad and Echad. Since Havaya Elikim, meaning the higher the Havaya and Elikim, which is representing the world as one, Hashem Elikim and Master Be'emes. So the truth is that Elikim is not master. The Elikim also represents the true identity of the Eibusher. L'chein, Gam Hashem Elikim B'Atamel Tzveinu Muvadav Adla B'Tov Darek Tzvein Yachid. And then you could have the ultimate idea of Yachid, saying everything is one, even the things that don't seem to represent Elikos openly. That also is Elikos. That's the idea of Echad, and then we can make that into a Yachid, to turn the Echad into Yachid. That's the idea of Atzmas, connecting Echad and Yachid. The idea of Echad, where you only see the one identity of Elikus and Echad, meaning to bring about the oneness, even when which seem to be not Begali Elikus. That is the idea of Koyach Atzmas, to be able to take both aspects, Echad and Yachid, and make it one. Yossi Yud Beis, Yossi Shem Havaya Havaya Echad, Meir Al Kol, Gimel Honyonim Echad V'Yachid Ke'Echatz Shem Chabra. Talk about the name of Havaya Echad is actually all three together. Echad, Yachid, and Atzmos, which brings together Echad and Yachid. Havaya Yesh Gimel Honyonim Aleph, we find three Honyonim Havaya Aleph, Havaya Melashim Mahava. One idea of Havaya is Melashim Mahava, which means constant. It's always it. B'Shem Havaya Meir Al Shechos Elemas. Mahava, meaning it's constantly creating the world, which means its connection to the world. The Havaya is constantly creating the world. Base, was, is, and always will be, which shows appears that Hashem Havaya Merishu L'mayla is higher than the world, because in other words, it's higher than time, which means higher than the world. Higher than time is also higher than place. Havaya is also Shem Ha'etzem. So they find these three things Havaya. So you find that the three things in Havaya. Number one, Havaya is Melashim Mahava, which means a constant chayes giving to the world. That's Havaya connected to the world. Then you have Havaya, was, is, and always will be, which means Havaya, which is higher than time, which means it's higher than place, higher than the world. Then you have the Shema Etzem, that is the identifying name of the true Etzem of the Eibishter, and that's bringing them all together. So it brings down that in Pardes it says that the Shema Etzem is only referring to the Etzem of the Spheres, which is the Irish and Slavish Kelim. So in Pardes, which is in Kabbalah, Etzem is referring to the Etzem of Kelim. But according to Chassidus, Etzem is an Atmos. Okay, weiter. But being that we find this by all three names, so it means they're connected to each other. The very fact that you could have both seemingly opposite identifying qualities within the same name Havaya. Number one, Mahava, which means constantly giving chayes to the world, and number two, which is beyond the defining aspect of the world. That could only be through the third level of Havaya, which is Havaya being chinas etzem, shema etzem. Even though in the outside it seems that it's a yerida, it seems like it's lowering itself. Through coming into the world, we're showing that is a true etzem. A true etzem means that it could be something that's beyond the world and within the world at the very same time, and it's not a steer one to another. That is what the etzem means. Etzem means that there is nothing that could change the true identity of its very being. Not the world and not beyond the world. They could both be one at the same time. Not only that, but the ikar shem etzem comes out in Havaya Lashon Mahava. Shem Havaya Shem Etzem Shmer Latzas Ukuyasavas. Yesh Me'ayin Edav Gechatzah Shem Tzosim Atzmosei. Where do we find the idea of Yesh Me'ayin creating the world always, constantly? Something from nothing, meaning constantly giving the highest of the world, that could only be mitzad atzmos, which is mitziyusei matzmusei, that his very identity is from within himself, meaning that it's not something that's outside, but only his very being could create something that will look as if it's something that's not him. The only thing that could make yesh me'ayin is a mitzias which is not affected by anything that's outside of himself. Because once you're going outside of himself, then that creates that stira. All right. Yud Gimel. Alpiza Yuvam Mashagam Mashkas Rambam Maamar Mount Kalasa. He said that Tvamad the Chachmas Bid Shesham Matzirisha Vamatzi call Nimtza. The Rambam says Tvamad the Chachmas, the foundation and the pillar of wisdom is to know that there is a Matzir Rishon, that there is a first being Vamatzi called Nimtza, and he's the one that gives any existence to any existence. And anything that exists from heaven and earth, it only exists from his true being. This idea, he began the three aspects of knowing Elikus. One, one is to know that there is a first being. Number two, that gives highest to everything else that exists. Say we should call on and everything that exists cannot exist only with his being. Havaya is connected to the three yanim. Havaya say that he says Amad the Chachmas Rosh Tevis Havaya. Say that Amad the Chachmas Rosh Tevis Havaya. So that's Havaya Matzir Rishon Hushu Kaidim Akal. A first being means that he comes before everything L'maylam Bria, which is higher than Bria. Mansi Kol Nimtza, and he makes exist everything that exists. To Havaya Mlashem Mahava, Havaya Mlashem Mahava. Cholim Tzemchol Nimtza Lamitzim Matzai. Amitis Himatzei, who are Atzmos Shemitzusim Atzmos. This true being is Atzmos, which is higher than Atzmos. That the creation of any being is from Kayach Atzmos and Shem Etzem. So we find that this idea in the Rambam also, where he breaks it down in three different ways of explaining Havaya. That number one, Havaya being that he's a Matzir Rishon. Which means he's the mile of Bria, is the very existence before Bria. Number two, Mansi Kol Nimtza gives chayes to everything which is Mahava. The Bria of everything could only be from his very essence. That's why we find that Havaya is he said that says Amad Chachmas. He says v'Chachma same Shnei Yanim Havchim, because Yisod and Chachma are two opposites. You say the same anachas abshutas malam me'abinyan. What's the idea of Yossi? The Yossi means a foundation of the building. Me'aspara shem Yossi dehasaga, which means the foundations of the understanding. V'chachma shem asvar sichli shenitfesas v'asachla. Behaskala v'ad shayach b'amshakla v'tar. Then you have the chachma, which is the explanations in which you're able to take in. So you have the foundations, which is the hanacha, which is the basics to understand the idea, and then is the idea of the chachma, which is understanding and incorporating those ideas. And avodah, the idea of yisoid means amuna. Amuna means I can't really explain it. This is faith. Faith is beyond seichel. Faith is beyond understanding. Chachma is the idea of understanding. So when it comes to the concepts of faith, is it something that I have to accept because this is what it is, because my faith is telling me that I don't have a way of explaining it, I just have to have faith that that's true? Or is it that I have to understand it? That the idea of yisoid, which is the foundation meaning the amuna pshuta, the simple amuna, That's the foundation, which is higher than Elam. And Sharish Chachmas is by Havaya Lashon Mahava. Then you have that Havaya, which is constantly giving creation giving chayas to the world. That's the idea of Chachma. I mean that you're internalizing the idea, you're understanding the idea. And then you have the Koach, which is bringing the two of those together. That's from Shem Havaya, Shem Etzem. That's the idea of bringing the two together. So this is the idea of taking these two opposites, which you have the idea of the foundation of Emunah, which is L'mayla Seichel, and Seichel itself, which is internalizing the idea, bringing them both together. This is similar to what we're saying until now, the idea of taking the Eidos of Mishpatim and Chukim, all these three ideas. You have the idea of Mishpatim, which is the internalizing the idea, which is similar to the Chayas of the world. Then you have the idea of Eidos, which is higher than that, which is higher than the world, and then you have the idea of Chukim, which is that etzem, which is able to bring the two of them together. This is why that was punished that he referred to him Chukim. Because the Torah, the way it's mitzad deratzon atzmi, is like that's like the Amunah, which is higher than the world. That's why this is a way that it pushes away. That's not environment. But the ultimate achdus means that you're bringing achdus in the world. That you're making in the world to have everything. The idea of edus and mishpatim means that they have to come down. It should be revealed in the world. And through that, you're able to reach the etzem of Torah, which is higher than chukim, because Dav was saying we have to have the chukim, which is beyond the world, beyond the chayas of the world. In other words, he was sort of trying to bypass the idea of Eidos and Mishpatim. But we have to have the Eidos and Mishpatim, because those are the inyan that are mavar the world. Those are the inyan that work with the world. And so that's why David was punished, because he had to recognize that we can't only look at Torah mitzad chukim. The true identity of Torah is that Eidos, Chukim, and Mishpatim could all three really be one. That's the ultimate purpose, to bring them all together, to make them one. So getting back to the question we said, why do we say Havaya Be'ezer? It sounds like Hashem needs helpers. The helpers, no, they're talking about the netzutzos which are being var. They help the person. That's not on the bread that the person lives on, the Havaya. Through that the person is a var. He adds koyach in his avodah. Shanetzutzis oizer Messiah that the netzutzis help him out. Pirish Havaya Be'ezer who Shanetzutzis amazbar Be'ezer. And netzutzis says mevar hagam she'inam birur hu shalamata lamala. Even though the birur is mata lamala dina ilama, the ilam yum shach bam gili shem Havaya shalamala mishtalshalos. It should bring down shem Havaya shalamala mishtalshalos v'chibur beis inyanim elu. And that both of these two things come from Havaya, which is Shem Etzem. So that's what it says. And I'm going to see my enemies. David. Even the enemies of David Shem Havaya. And so after the Litchais and Lagami Kin the Varan says Shabbahem. He shouldn't have to push them away. But he but he's able to be invited them. So the Ra is going to be mispatal, and then they can become good. You're able to see that even the enemies will be able to see Elikus. I'm going to see my enemies that will be able to see Elikus. Yes, Elikus seeing Elikus revealed even in Yanim of the world. Even those who were against and even brought the free to grab into prison and into Galus. And not necessarily did they change for what they were, what they believe, but still they had to ultimately do what the Kavanas. You were able to see the Gilei Lukus higher than Teva, the way it came clearly in Teva. And through that he was able to bring the Koyach to everyone that goes in his ways. To to bring down the Melukat of higher than time and this brings about the ultimate the hachana that we should bring down the ultimate jira of that the tachtonim itself should be a place that we could bring down the atzmos here. And that is the Maamar Havaya li Ba'ozri.